Hello and welcome to our first ever training on how to set up your tournament on pickleballtournaments.com. We're excited to have you here for our first ever webinar. My name is Jenna. I will be training you today on how to do this, and we're going to run through a tournament that I've already created and run through what the setup looks like. We'll also touch on how to create an event. We'll run through our simulator and make sure you have your ratings set up correctly. So if you have any questions at any time, feel free to leave them in the Q&A that's on the side of your screen. We'll go through that at the end of the training, just so that we're not running kind of back and forth between screens. So hopefully by now you have already created a club on pickleballclubs.com on our site. You do need a club in order to get started. It could be a club, a business, organization, a government, municipality, anything that will host the tournament. So that is a required thing. Once you have that all set up, then you will have access to create a tournament. So pickleballtournaments.com, go to create a new tournament, and then input the club name and your tournament title, and it'll pull up something that looks like this. So again, this is a tournament that I have already created. It's running a little bit later this month, at the end of the month. Excuse me. And so we're just going to run through what this looks like, and I'll mention anything that you would have to set up on your own. So the thing to know is that you can make this as complicated or as simple as you want. So think complicated in terms of like an event like the PPA. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things to set up. Simple is more like your local round robin tournament, which is what this is. So that's where we're going to focus our training. If you have any questions about something a little bit more complicated, our customer service team is awesome. support@pickleball.com. We also have a chat option as well. And so you're welcome to utilize any of those things to help. So the first thing that's different is for the player text, you're going to see a bullet point to check yes, no. I would recommend turning on texting just because I feel like it's an extra way to give yourself a double check when you enter scores. It's also a good way to keep it open in case you want to use the court desk to assign players to various courts. Let's say if you have a weather delay and you just needed to message one bracket, you can log into our system and send a message to just that one bracket come tournament time. So it's 25 cents per player, not per text, just per player. And it's a handy feature. So keep that in mind. You do want these things on. I do recommend keeping waiting list service on. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Check your time zone. The show public date. This is important. And just a quick note, these question marks are there for you to click on. So if you forget something in this training and you're like, what was that again? Just click on those little question marks and it'll display. So show public date. This is the date the tournament starts to show to the public. So for example, we opened registration December 25, and we showed this to the public December 22. You can kind of market this however you want. So say you run a yearly tournament, or let's say I'm running one in October and I want registration to open June 1. I can work on this on the back end, give myself a little time and have it set to show to the public May 1, and you can use that as like, oh, don't miss out on registration. It opens June 1, or however you want. You can have your tournament out there now, and maybe it's for next season already, next year. So the show public date, again, when you want it to show to the public, it's not your registration dates. That's a separate area. Title, obvious. There's a couple other options here. Again, you can add that in as you desire. Maximum registration for entire tourney. This is not the maximum that I can register for as a player. It's your cap. So if you know that you can fit 500 people, you would put 500 there. If you don't have a cap or are not sure, leave it blank, and I'll show you how to use the simulator to determine your maximum capacity. Number of guaranteed games, I would recommend putting that in there because players do pay attention to that. Again, feel free to customize as needed. When do you want your draws to show? We don't need to worry about start times right now, obviously. We want to turn on our registration. Set your registration dates. I would recommend doing your registration date minus 10 days after my or before my event is. So if my event is on a weekend, my shutdown is 2 Wednesdays prior, so about 10 days. Gives me a little bit of time to set start times. That way I'm not spending 2 weekends in a row trying to create start times. I can get it done during the week instead of during my weekend. If you find that you are doing a smaller tournament and don't need that much time, or say you end up with a lot of registrations last minute, feel free to come in and change these at any time. I'll often come in, I get a lot of last minute registrations, so I'll often come in and change just the time to give people a little bit more time. Age limit deadline, so commonly referred to as your pickleball age. How old are you December 31, 2025? And that's what bracket you can register for. So let's say you're 49, but you're not 49 till October, or you're not 50 till October. Your pickleball age for this year is going to be 50. So you can register for 50 plus brackets this year. This is pretty common to keep it this way. I often don't see it a lot where I've actually only seen one tournament where they've changed the age limit to when their actual event was. Max events per registration. You can customize that there or down here. I would recommend down here. So what this is saying is only one can register in the same player and group format combo, regardless of day. So let's talk about that 50 plus person. If you have a 50 plus female, that means the way that this is set right now, they can't register for the 50 plus and below 50, even if it's on a separate day. You can customize this as needed for your tournament day. Contact info, pretty self-explanatory there. Contact form, emails. This is if you want, let's say you have a very specific person handling registrations for you. If players have questions and they go to the tournament page and they choose registration from the drop-down menu that they have a question on registration, it's going to go right to that email address. You can leave it blank, and as the tournament director, they would come to you regardless of what message they've chose. On the tournament we're running, if somebody has a sponsorship question, that will go directly to the company that's behind this one, which is Revlin Sports. Contact form display. This is if you want your contact info to display to the public. Most tournament directors do not do this. Personally speaking, I wouldn't recommend it because all of the emails come to you anyway. But if you are so inclined, it is there for you if you want it. CC emails. You can, again, as much detail as you want or as little detail as you want. I like to receive emails on when somebody registers and when somebody withdraws. After that, it doesn't matter to me. So those are the ones that I've put here. If you want copies of emails as they go out to everybody, put your email address in every line. Goals there if you need them. Digital scorecard, not something we need to customize at the moment. Something a little bit closer to your event. Facebook, Pixel, and Google Tag Manager. This is not something we actually provide support on. What I'm told is that if you use this, you know what this is. So not something I use, not something I'm familiar with, but from what I understand, it's kind of a tracking mechanism to see where tournament registrations come from. So lottery, if that's something that you need more detail on, send our customer service team a message. For the purpose of training, though, we'll skip this part because the majority of our tournaments do not use that. Additional info. This, again, you can kind of customize as needed. I use the description to give just a basic overview of the tournament. What are we doing? What's the basic format? Additional information, I give kind of a caveat of, hey, we reserve the right to combine brackets as needed to set appropriate or to give you good play, right? If I have one in a 70 plus bracket, I'll probably combine them with the 60 plus, right? So just giving us the freedom to be able to do that. Our basic schedule, so on and so forth. Please make sure you have a refund policy. That's super important. For our tournaments, if you need kind of something to go by, you can make up your own refund policy. So just as an idea, our refund policy is that if you cancel on or before our registration ending, you can get a full refund minus the pickleball service fees, the $5 fee or $10 fee. Some other tournament directors charge an extra $10 or $20 kind of a service fee on their own for the trouble of, with withdrawing and removing them. Up to you on what you personally think is fair and how you want your tournament to run. Prize money is there if you need it or want it. Weather info, this is something to use more on tournament day. For right now, I've just used it as a reminder to people that it's an outdoor tournament. There's no backup location, because sometimes I do get that question, like, do you have an outdoor facility secured for this? Nope, we don't. So I try to use those boxes to answer as many questions as I can. That just has me field less emails overall. Okay, going back up to the top. When you get up to the top here, hang on, I gotta scroll over here a second. There we go. Once you get back up to the top, you obviously can see save and proceed next. And you'll go right to your registration cost. You can customize this however you want. Each line here is for however many different tiers you want to set up and when they're going to take over. Okay, so for this one, I've set early bird registration, and if they wanted that, they needed to do it before February 1. So February 1 was when my next line took over. So let's say I wanted to do late registration, and we'll say that's $70, and the tournament's at the end of the month. So let's just say if they register that last week, now they're going to get charged $70. Okay, so you can tier it however you want. Just make sure you don't run out of lines, because if somebody was to register with this cost, I can't remove that line, right? So you see there's no X's here anymore. So because people have registered under these costs, I cannot edit that anymore, because there is a person associated with that cost now, okay? So for now, I'm just going to delete that because we've already decided on this tournament that we won't do that. Just really quick, we have one event included in this registration cost. We'll talk about that a little bit more for when we get into setting up our events. Again, you can customize this however you want. Do you want 0 events included, and every time they choose an event, they get charged an extra? Do you want 1 included? All of them, you can do what you want there. Okay, checkout options, that's where you would set up your Stripe payment. That needs to be completed in the club first. So if you get to that part and you don't see the option to activate Stripe, go to your club, go to checkout options within your club, connect your Stripe account there first. Then you can come back in here to your tournament and connect your Stripe to the tournament, okay? But it must be set up in your club account first. Logo and files, pretty self-explanatory. That's just saying it needs to be 600 by 315 exactly. There's a spot for a waiver if you so desire. Discount codes looks very similar. You can customize these however you want as well. So in this particular case, we had a glow tournament that ended up not running. And so because we didn't refund the service fees, we gave people a discount to register for this particular tournament. So just to have a kind of a break on the service fees that were charged for them and to encourage them to register for this tournament. But I said if you wanted to do that, you needed to have it done by February 28th. So you can make this generic, you can make it custom, however you so desire. Sponsors looks pretty similar. It's you can tier your sponsors. Obviously with the logo, it needs to be that exact size, title, URL, amount if you want. You can fill out all of those things, or maybe you just put the logo in, however you want to do it. is good. Whoops, I'm clicking on things here. Payment method. This is new for us this year. So payment method is if your tournament gets over $250 worth of service fees. It's pretty rare, but in case it does go over that $250 mark, your card would get automatically charged. Just as a little kind of precaution. And but like I said, most tournaments don't even get to that point anymore because with Stripe, the service fees are getting sent directly to us. It's more just like if you manually add people, or maybe you give them a discount code to, that covers their whole registration costs. If Stripe wasn't able to collect that service fee, then that's going to get charged to the tournament. So, and then the texting fee, 25 cents a player, et cetera, et cetera. So venues, make sure you have where your tournament is going to be playing. This is also where you can enter the number of courts and the ball that you are using as well. Amenities is if you have something like a hotel that you need to connect. I don't have anything listed there. And then managers, you can add a manager to your tournament. They have to have a pickleball.com account. And then you can add custom privileges. So say you have somebody that's helping you with the entering scores. You can just give them permission to enter scores. For you guys will have right here a little button that says complete tournament. Okay, and then once you click that, it'll say, hey, wait, you need to set up an event, or if you haven't set up your payment method, or if you haven't set out your checkout options yet, it'll prompt you to do that. Okay, so those are the required things. But for an event, obviously the tournament needs an event in order for players to start registering. So otherwise it won't know what to register them for. So you're going to click on events and follow that prompt, and then I will show you how to set up an event and also how to copy it and make it pretty easy. So this is kind of what my event looks like on the back end. And there's different age splits that each of these holds. So for this one, let's just go into it a second. I have 4 different age splits set up. So each one of these on the public side is an event that could be registered for. But on my side of things, it's all condensed like this, right? So it's really, really handy. I can see precisely how many have registered in each one. We'll talk about that more in just a little bit. So let's go back into that 4.0 event. When you start setting up your events, see how this says active right here? Yours will have a slide, and you're going to want to make sure that that is turned on because people need to start registering for it. Okay, so count games toward duper, waiting list on, I would recommend. Bracket format's going to be round robin, and you can just choose what you want to do here. So this event is the men's doubles 4.0. A note on this. If I want 4.0 to be able to register and only 4.0, I need to keep it 4.0. Some people get a little bit confused here because they'll do 4.0 to 4.5 thinking it stops at 4.5. But please keep in mind that a 4.5 player is 4.500 through 4.999, right? So players with a 4.75 duper can register for this event as it stands now. Okay, but that same 4.75 player cannot if you have it at 4.0. So 4.0 is 4.00 through 4.499. Okay, and then as long as you have this box checked, like say you have a couple 3.75 players who want to play up, they'll be able to. You can also choose to have one person be required to be at 4.0, and then the other person can be below that. That's if you want to turn that on here. Okay. Age, set your minimum age for the tournament. And again, you can customize your ages in that age splits section up here. So once you save your event, then you'll be able to go back and customize your age splits. Okay, so this is also important. At least I think it is. This is something that kind of gives me a little less anxiety, I guess, when we're running a tournament. So this puts the pressure on your registrants to get their partner registered. So if you have a limited capacity, I definitely would recommend turning this on. The player, their partner must get registered within 3 days. Otherwise, they get booted to the wait list. That's why having that wait list service checked as on is important, because if they don't register for the event and their partner doesn't register for the event, then they'll get booted to the wait list. As long as there's room, they'll be able to come back on automatically. So having that wait list service on will automatically manage that for you. Make sure your date is correct. You can set this up as much as you want. Again, set up, do you want this printed automatically? Are you doing designated next available courts, et cetera, et cetera. Included in registration costs. So as you can see, it's set to yes. When we went through our registration costs, we had one event included, but you also see that there's this $10 fee listed here. What that means is if this event is chosen as a second event, then it'll get charged, the player will get charged a $10 fee. So a player who's, let's say this men's doubles 4-0, they registered for mixed, and now they're registering for men's doubles. So if they're registering with that second event, now it's going to charge them the extra $10. So make sure you have both checked on if you decide to do your tournament that way. Okay. That I think is it from that portion. Again, going to age splits, once you have that first page set up, add your age splits as needed. If I, say I want to add another one in here where I'm doing 50 to 54, 55 to 59, and 60 plus. I can do that and save it, and then it automatically refilters everybody right then and there. Okay, so you can customize that before setup, and you can also change it as needed on the fly. If you have a maximum, I'm going to just change this back before I forget here, but if you have a maximum, let's say I can only have 7 teams here and I only want 3 on my wait list, that's how you can customize each of those as well, right? Okay. I am not going to save this because this is already a predetermined event. And I want to also point out this copy event. So this is what's going to make setting up your tournament really smooth. So again, here is your active button. I'm going to activate this one for registration. You can see up here it says copy. I'll show you where to change that in a second. So let's say we're going to set up our women's event, and it's going to be our 4-0. So we're going to just check that over to women's. Same setup, same age, same everything. We're going to just turn that off a second, and then I would save it. And then it would save as my women's doubles 4-0 with the exact same age splits that I just had. Okay, because I already have a women's doubles 4-0 event, or say you did something on accident, we're going to delete this one. Easy peasy, deleted. If you need to, let's say one of your dates or a lot of your dates are wrong. Some people end up with their whole tournament with the wrong year. We can come through edit list. You can change all of that as needed. Okay. All right. I'm going to show you the simulator. Actually, first, at this point, you'd go back to edit tourney. You'd go back to the complete setup here, and then you'd get access to this big menu. So once you fully complete the setup, that's when you'd have access to this big menu and the simulator as well. So I will quick show you the simulator. So I've already done a little bit of work on Sunday, so I'm going to go to my Sunday day. And I want you to think about the simulator as your test center. So as you can see to the right here, this needs to, if you want to test out your events, make sure to include them in your event setup. So right now I have, let's say I have 14 teams, and a round robin. Let's say I'm going to do 2 pools of 7, like it says here. There are other options as you do the drop-down menu. Number of courts needed with 2 pools of 7, that'd be 6. And let's say I'm doing 1 game to 15. So we can figure, on average, we figure about 25 minutes for a game to 15, about 20 minutes for a game to 11. But for an open division, which is pretty high level usually, I've learned to add a little bit. So for this one, I'm going to actually figure 30 minutes for a game to 15. And then for my medal matches, that's usually, we usually figure 50 to 60 minutes for a best 2 out of 3. I'm going to figure 70 at least. And then I have it set here that first and second seed play for gold and silver, and third and fourth play for bronze. So 4 teams are going to move forward into the medal round. I'm going to save this day. And then I'm going to view my schedule. So this is basically an overview of what my tournament could look like. So for this event, it looks like the round robin portion will take about, they start at 8, 3.5 hours with a quick medal round after that. So we're looking at a 4.5 hour day for like the medalist division. So that could be something where I just have to decide, is that too big for me? Is that too little? Or do I have time to add another team? Like, could I go to, could I go to 12? That might be a little big. Let's try 20, and maybe we do 5 pools of 4, and maybe they're going to all play 2 out of 3. And then 5 pools of 4 is going to need, I believe that's 10 courts. And I'm going to send this time 8 over to the medal round. But this, for the pre-medal matches, we're still going to do, I suppose we could still do 2 out of 3 there. Again, it's just what you feel like you can fit in and how that's going to change your day. So we've got it set up as a single elimination round here, and then we're going to save this day. And it does take a minute because it is building an entire tournament schedule for you. View schedule. So now it put it down here automatically. So now I'm looking at my day going until 2 o'clock. So I don't know that was a better decision, right? So it's just all about how you want to run this, how you want to customize it, and think of it as your test center, as your play center. You can test out pretty much any scenario. When you find a setting that you like, just hit update live event, and it'll update all those score settings that you set up earlier, right? All those, the pools, it'll update that as needed. It will make your tournament day scheduling a little easier. Last thing I want to show you is the sanctioned and approved ratings. So if you are, let's say you're applying for sanctioning, this is the place to do that. We would recommend not turning registration on until you are fully approved. Otherwise, like for Pickleball Canada, they do get a little bit of a discount for service fees by going through Pickleball Canada specifically. And if you start your registration prior to when that's approved, it does mess up the registration. So if you are looking for sanctioning on something, make sure that is fully done before you open registration. We would highly recommend that. Here's what I want to point out to you is the duper section. Make sure that that is your first choice rating, second choice, and third could be the self rating. So that would make sure that your tournament is running off from duper instead of self as primary. So that concludes the training portion, and we'll move over to the Q&A and take a look at what questions you have. All right, so Terry was asking, tournament time setup, does it have to be done before tournament registration is completed? So I think what this means, or maybe what the question is, I mean, there are some portions of the tournament that you need to have set up before registration opens. But as far as tournament, like when registration closes down, if that's what the question is, I think. And as far as like, maybe that's in terms of building your schedule. So it's up to you to manage that. So if you're talking about when the registration closes down, I would recommend using the simulator to kind of build your schedule and make sure that you don't overbook. If you're talking about when registration opens, if you have to have your like the tournament set up, most of the things are customizable. You can't turn off text. Your registration fees, like if somebody registers with a registration fee, you can't go back and just delete that registration fee. You have to go create a new one and show when that one, or create a date when that would be active. So hopefully that answers your question. If not, feel free to put a follow-up question in here. And you guys, I have these on my phone because this is new for us, as you've heard me say in the beginning. This is the first ever webinar. So I have the questions on my phone because I can't seem to find them online here. So one question I see here, I'll just go as I see them. I have a division set up for Saturday, but want to move event plus attendees to Sunday. Yes, you can do that. You can go to your event screen and literally just change the date. So if I go to, let me just quick show you here, events. And then I could just change the date, go to edit list at the top and change the date here. Highly recommend, obviously, that you email your people to let them know what the change is. Questions flying in. I love it. Hang on. Can you show real quick how to set up multiple age brackets under one event? I've already written up each and every age bracket of event. Can I convert that? You can. If you have people registered in it already, it's fine to leave it as is, but it is kind of handy to have them under like one event, just because, like I said, you can filter as needed on the spot. So let's see, it looks like the men's doubles 3-5 event has that in there. So age splits is right there. And then you can just add a new split. Actually, so let me go back to my men's doubles open, because that one doesn't have age splits. So if I wanted to do age splits here, I could just add a new split and then customize it as needed, right? So 10 to 29, maybe I do 30 to 49 and a 50 plus, and then it splits everybody out automatically. So, it looks like we have 9 teams in the 30 plus, nobody in 50 plus. So you can do that. So as you see here, it says move teams in. That would be if I created an event with age splits in it. I could then move those teams in. So you can do it, especially if your registration isn't open, but it's also totally fine to just leave it be. And then, because you'd have to go in and delete events as well. So it's really up to you. So age brackets, we did that one. What's the difference between playoff and playoff pre-medal? Good question. So let's say I have a bracket of 8 in a playoff, right? So that first round, there's 8 teams. Those are the playoff matches. Okay, so those 8 will move down to 4. Those 4 teams, those are the pre-medal matches because those are the matches that are happening before the medal matches. Okay, so playoffs, pre-medal, medal. It's kind of like a tiered system. So if you can think about, like, maybe you have a bracket of 16, you're going to have 2 rounds of your playoff matches because your 16 goes from 16 to 8 and 8 to 4. And then only when you get 4 is when you have your pre-medal matches because those are the ones before the medal matches. Will there be another training session about brackets management, entering score, making a change to draw to weather? Yes, that is my goal, to have the next one be more like live console training. So entering scores, how to start your my lovely dog's coming to say hi. How to start your brackets and more of that kind of thing. If you guys have any suggestions on something that you'd like to learn, feel free to send us an email or leave it in the chat here, and we can see if we can get that covered. This is kind of a new thing for us, and yeah, we're definitely open to doing different trainings for you guys. So, rating options. Is there a club rating or a self-rating option? I believe you cannot use club ratings unless it's for possibly a league, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So our ratings right now is for Duper, and self-rating is primary. I believe if you're a lifetime club, you can use lifetime ratings. But that one is a question for customer service team. If you want a much more specific answer on that, because there is a few exceptions to various things. One-on-one training, if you need that, email our customer service team, support@pickleball.com. They can get you on a training session. We also have, you guys, we have like I don't know, my supervisor just called it a dink bot. We have a little chat bot, dink bot, I like it, on our website. And so pickleball.com, or if you're in your tournament, look for the little chat icon there. There is a ton of resources in that chat. So it'll take you through, what are you needing help on, and you can get automatic resources that can be sent to you as well. So, okay, let me just go through, make sure we have, yes, we are recording this. It's going to be sent out via email to our registrants. And let's see. Okay, how do you manage registration, such as swapping players and withdrawals? So in terms of managing registrations, such as swapping players. So if you have open registration, this is kind of like a tournament director type of a question. So do you, as a tournament director, want to do this for them? Or my personal preference is to empower people to make those changes themselves. So I usually, as long as registration is open and not closed down or anything to where they can't change their registration, I say, hey, yep, you're welcome to change your brackets as needed, as long as your rating allows you to play that bracket. Please go into the tournament page, click on edit registration, and update your registration there. I just feel that is a way to kind of empower your people to be able to know how to do it themselves. However, that being said, if you want to kind of go above and beyond and manage registrations for people, I would check out the attendees screen. And then once you start getting registrations, then you can click on the menu next to their name and then click edit registration right there. So, but yes, you technically can move people over. Okay. I think this one's it. Ayana, we hosted a tournament fair. Received text message, but they didn't receive one stating they were in the queue. That one I think is a question for customer support. So send an email to support@pickleball.com, and that might be a technical question, possibly. How do you manage registration after registration is closed? So that's going to be in your live console. So this training is more focused on the setup portion. Live console, though, is like you verify your brackets. Once you have your brackets verified, then you can click on options in the bracket, and then you just hit swap player, type their name, choose who you want to swap in and out, and the system does it automatically for you. It's really great. Okay. All right, couple more questions, you guys. What data is required to be entered for a tournament to show public? I mean, as far as required, I would say you need to have an event. You need to have your payment. You don't need to have your payment set up to just show to the public, but you need to have those set up to start receiving registration. So an event and the setup portion at least mostly completed. But at minimum, exactly, like just get your dates out there, throw a couple events on, choose event A, B, C on date A, B, C, so that it kind of says our tournament is between, date A and date C, and then that kind of gets the placeholder out there. So I would recommend a logo too, just so that you have that in there. It's just, players will find it a little easier if you have that. Do you recommend updating duper scores after tournament registration is closed? Again, this is a personal decision. I put a little caveat. Let me show you, actually. We're gonna not save that. Okay, I put a little caveat in the tournament. I'm gonna scroll down real fast, guys, sorry. Hopefully this doesn't make you dizzy. I think it's here. Okay, so here I put a little caveat about you must register for your appropriate skill level. Duper ratings will be looked at about 3 weeks prior to the event. You will be moved if your rating increased. This is just a safety net for us as tournament directors to say, hey, if you're a 3.95 duper and you registered for a 3.5 and maybe you played a tournament and now you're a 4.0, you're going to get moved without notice. That is a tournament decision. You can also say the duper you are at the time of registration is where you'll be able to play. That is up to you. I just find that I have gotten questions about it when we first were integrated with Duper. Like, hey, this person's rating moved to, she's a 3.8 and she's in a 3.0 bracket, because ratings sometimes can move a lot when you first get started. And she's like a 3.25-ish player. Some reason she got a 3.8 Duper. So we had to say, hey, you're going to play 3.5. And to both of our surprises, she won a couple games in 3.5. So now guess where she's at? She's at 3.5. So again, it's up to you as tournament directors to decide what to do in that regard. Okay, I think you guys, we got it. And we are still under an hour. So thank you again for being here. We are planning to do our next webinar, hoping sometime in May. again, you guys, everybody will get an email. I hope to go over some live console stuff, bracket creation stuff, and again, this has been recorded. It'll get sent to you via email. You can watch it later as well. Our customer service team is awesome. We check out that chatbot feature. There's tons of help articles in there. So all those resources are there to help you. Also, I had somebody today, again, don't mind my quick scrolling here. I had somebody today say, you guys don't have a manual. And actually, if you click on this help button here, it'll bring you to a manual. So that is there for you to use as well. It's an easy, quick search. Like I usually did when I was first learning, I did a keyword search, like, okay, what was that show public date thing again? And then I would type it in there and keep moving. So thank you again, you guys, for being here. Thanks for launching our first webinar, and feel free to message us if you have any questions. Have a great night, everyone.